Hey, it's Charity from Holy Homestead in the Making, and today I am canning chicken. This is actually my very first time canning chicken and canning chicken broth by myself. To be honest, I'm a little slightly nervous about it, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I've done it with my mom. It's really simple. So all I have here is I had 3 packs of drumsticks that I had been gifted from somebody at church. And then this morning I pulled them out, filled it all the way up with water, not all the way, but up over the chicken. I've just let it simmer on the stove like at a low temperature for a couple hours. So now I'm going to bring you along. I'm going to take the chicken out of the pot, put it in this bowl, and we're going to shred it up, and then we'll start the canning process. Alright, I got all the chicken in the bowl, or I think it's all the chicken. I haven't strained the juice, and we're going to start shredding this. Obviously, you don't want the bones or the fat. We're actually going to save the bones, and I'm going to try making some bone broth. I've never made bone broth, so I did let this all cool for like a couple of hours before I even attempted anything. You know, took it off the heat that way, because I'm going to tell you right now, when this chicken's hot, you do not want to be shredding it. So I'm going to take the chicken that is ready to be canned. You know, I'm taking the fat off, the gristle, and put it in this bowl. Y'all, I am so nervous about doing this, just because I don't know. I've never actually canned anything by myself, y'all. Here I am showing y'all my experience. That's why it's called Holy Homestead in the Making, because we ain't no homestead yet. We have very limited skills and lots of research. That's what we have. Y'all, this will seem like a lot of chicken when I can it, but I'm telling y'all right now, my husband will make hash of it real quick. This is all dark meat. Probably ideally you would want a mixture, you know, of both. But this was free, and that's what we're working with. So when you're gifted something free, you go with it, you know. Okay, guys, we've done a lot of work off camera because it was a lot to do. Taking my bones from all the chicken, have in my crock pot. I'm going to put water in this and can some bone broth. I've never had bone broth. I'm interested in it. This is my chicken that's been separated from all the fat and the gristle and everything else. I think I'm going to throw a cheesecloth down or one of these flour sack towels just to catch as much of the debris as I can. And then, guys, we're going to be ready to do some canning. I'm excited. I've been wanting to can for a very long time, and I've been too scared, and I'm not letting my fear hold me back. I washed my pan up, and I am just going to pour it all back in here, because honestly, I don't have anything big enough. This seems just the easiest option. Alright, this is a long time later, and I have actually canned chicken exactly like this multiple times since then. The easiest way is just to strain the broth a little bit at a time. Go ahead and jar that up and get it ready to go instead of dirtying up so many dishes. Look how much of that we got out of the chicken broth. I want a beautiful chicken broth. This is as clean as the broth is going to get. We have the bare essentials, the canning set, and all my canning equipment my mama bought. So thank her for teaching me. She's taught me some, and then also just provided me with the essentials. It's the birthday gifts and Christmas gifts and all the whatnot. I'll do 4 at a time. I'm going to start off by putting ½ teaspoon into each jar. We want to pack these jars, leaving a 1-inch headspace just underneath. This thing comes with a handy little ruler. It is just underneath this rim. So I would say that's pretty close to a 1 inch headspace. I do know that you want to make sure that you put in here as much as you can, so kind of compact it, because during the canning process everything loosens up, and you don't want to have a half jar of chicken. These jars are taking far more chicken than I thought they would to fill. We will have to pressure can these because this is a low acidic food. We are going to end up with 8 jars of chicken. That is fantastic. And y'all, this is free. This is all free. This has cost me nothing besides the salt that I put in it, which I'm using Redmond's real salt, so it is kind of more of a pricey salt. But all it cost me was the water to run out of my faucet, and that's about it. This is a very important step. You want to cover each jar with enough chicken broth to cover and completely submerge all of the chicken. You always need to debubble your jars. Something I did forget to do was check the rims of my jars to make sure that there was no nicks or cracks. So the way you debubble is you just take your little device and press it down. And that just makes sure that you get the bubbles out, that all the meat is in the liquid. As I'm doing this, I'm kind of compacting the meat, and I can see bubbles forming. So this is a very important step when it comes to any canning. Pretty well dead on the money. The last step before it's ready to just go in the canner is we're going to take a little bit of vinegar, soak a cloth, and we're going to wipe it all down just so we create a good seal and it gets rid of any of that fattiness, okay? Biggest thing is around the rim, because that could create a sealing issue. So your meat resistance and then fingertip tight. All right, now we're going to start canning the broth. I'm going to go ahead and get 4 jars ready at a time and see where that takes me. I'm just throwing a half teaspoon into each container so that I'm salting my broth. My mom said she tried it and it was like overly salty, but we use the same broth. Didn't bother us, but we like things really salty. So now, this is a very simple process. We're just going to start filling the jars full. And this is all that, was less than that. I'm just going to put this in the fridge and it'll be chicken broth I can use to cook our meals for the week. This is 2 days later. I got the chicken and the broth ready on Tuesday. Started the bone broth. It was ready by Wednesday around 10 p.m. And I had every intention of canning Wednesday and filming it. However, something happened that made me... Well, I tried. I spent over 3 hours trying to do it. I did something dumb, and I wasn't going to share it with you guys because I felt like it would really affect my credibility, which I told you guys I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't know what credibility I'm worried about ruining. But I thought to pressure can that you made sure the water was over the jars, and I had thrown one of the quart-size jars in there because I can't fit all of those in my one round of trying to can the chicken broth. So I filled it up over the quart size, and it took like 3.5 hours to bring that water to a boil, and then it was like spitting water everywhere. I called my mom. Anyways, come to find out, there's 3 on a Presto canner. I don't know about any other canner because I'm not really 100% familiar with mine, but with a Presto canner there are 3 lines that indicate max fill lines, and the top 2 are for from what I read online, it's for like if you cook food in it, which I'm not doing, so I'm not worried about that. But the lowest line is the 3-quart line for pressure canning. So I did all of that, spent like 3 or 4 hours, and achieved nothing yesterday. I was pretty upset, but today we're back at it. Now we have 8 jars of broth and 8 jars of chicken and however many jars of bone broth that is in my crock pot that I still got to jar up ready. And I've kept all this refrigerated, so y'all don't worry. But After making that mistake, I did realize how absolutely important it is to read the how to pressure can foods and read this. It says on here, make sure you read this beforehand or whatever. But anyways, I realize that now. And so I did go and I read the whole section on it, which was very actually insightful. So I'm canning on a glass top stove, and it says on there that you need to check on your stoves, like manufacturer settings. I have not done that, but I have done, I guess I'll look that up here in just a second, but I have read this whole section, and it says that you want to use the stovetop like buff polishing wax or whatever it's called. You want to make sure that you do that before and after you can to prevent scratching, and probably also to prevent things from being burned up and hard to get off. So I have now cleaned the stove, then I polished it, let that dry, took that off, and I have water lines in my pot. So if y'all have any suggestions on that, let me know. But we're going to start this process. I'm using the Ball Complete Book of Home Preservation. I have my Presso canner. I'm going to go ahead, and it said that you want to fill it up to the fill line with the rack, from what I understand, if I read it correctly. And there is another little tip. The reason that the inside of my pressure canner looks dark like this is because I boiled that water in there for such a long period of time. It created water stains. Maybe it'll go away, maybe it won't, I don't know. But it said in there that if you're pressure cooking for long periods of time, that you can actually throw two tablespoons of distilled vinegar in with the water, and it would prevent staining on your jars, and I think your pot as well. So, because maybe it'll also help undo some damage. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to throw 2 tablespoons of this inside there. Yeah, I've done the best I can. I guess you have to start somewhere. And that's where I'm starting, is on the hard path, it seems like. But anyways, we're getting it. We are starting off with cold water, and the reason I'm starting off with cold water is I'm starting off with refrigerator cold jars. So the things I have learned is ensure that you have the rack in there. If you don't, you need to I've seen people place towels and all that. This is a brand new canner. I do have the rack, so I'm not worried about that. Have the rack in there. It protects the bottom of the jars. Go ahead and throw in 2 tablespoons of distilled vinegar. It's not going to hurt nothing. Instructions. Seriously, y'all, read the instructions. I said to do that, but I was like, I'll skim it. You can't skim it. I mean, you just can't. So, on the lid, let me find it. It says it's on here. On the lid, let's see. Can you guys see that? There is a little V. There is also a V on one of the handles. You line those 2 V's up, and that's how you know where to place the lid. Now, I am going to go ahead and bump this bad boy up. It says never slide your canner, pick it up. So that is what we have done. We made sure not to slide it. I can tell you that I learned that with experience out of making popcorn on the stove. You always pick it up, because I scratched the mess out of our stovetop. I'm glad I did it, not him, because I probably would have been upset about it if he had done it. But I was like, oh no, that was a terrible mistake when I did it, and I moved on. So anyhow, a little intimidated by the canner, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. But I have worked an Instapot a lot, and I can do that, I can do this. So I'm giving myself a pep talk, not you guys. Right here, this is called the, I don't remember what it's called. But anyhow, what it does when there's pressure present in this container, in this pot, this is flat right now, but it will pop up just like an Instapot if you've ever used that. And the way that you know if you're boiling is you will see, feel, or hear a constant flow of steam coming from right here. So that is how we know. Now, I got this going, not on high though, so let's bump the heat up. We're gonna wait until we know that it's boiling, and that will be
Absolutely wonderful. And then we'll start a 10-minute timer. You know what? I'm not going to talk through it all because we're going to do it together. So while this is coming up to a boil, I'm actually going to work on the bone broth and try to get it jarred up. That's my plan. So maybe I can just go boom, boom, boom and get all 3 of them done, which is not going to be a boom, boom, boom because it's a kind of a slow process.
I did go into an entire spiel about my manufacturer's details on how to pressure can on my glass top stove. I cut all that out because that is specific to my stove. So really it doesn't benefit you guys sharing that information at all. So just look up your manufacturer and what their recommendations are for your stove. What mine said was it was not highly recommended to use a glass top for canning. That you could do it, but there was variations in temperatures that could cause, issues if you didn't maintain the correct pressure. So it was just highly important that I kept a very vigilant eye on the canner to make sure that that little weight kept jiggling. And if it even stopped for a second, I was like checking it, ready to bump the heat up. I did have to can the entire time on high. That was the only way that I could get it to stay boiling and stay maintaining pressure.
But this is the weight that you put on after the pressure canner has vented for 10 minutes once you come to a boil. This is 5 pounds, just the weight itself without either of the rings. Each ring is worth 5 pounds of pressure, so that's 10 pounds total because you have 5 for the weight and 5 for the ring. If I needed to do 15, I put this other ring on it, and there we go. We've got 15 pounds of pressure. Go ahead and take my extra. I just put that on there to show you guys. I'd say this is my advice, but I've not done this long enough to be giving any advice. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the right pressure set on here that I want. 10 pounds of pressure. 1 ring and 1 weight. We're there. And I'm going to set this weight over here in a safe place. I don't think I ever went through with you guys what I did to make the bone broth. I took all the bones from that chicken that we processed that we're now starting to can. And I put them in my crock pot, filled my crock pot up with water, and then let it cook on low for 24 hours or maybe a little plus. I'm assuming these bones, we've gotten everything there is to have out of them, I'm assuming. I ran this through my sieve or my strainer, whatever you want to call it. I did go ahead and take out all the big chunks of bones just to make it a little easier so I wouldn't be dumping this a bunch. But as you can tell, all I've got is the little bitty tiny bones and some fat and cartilage. I guess I didn't clean very good. I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. Anyhow, and what I'm left with is this very gelatinous broth, which we're about to can. Y'all, this is, I don't know if it comes through on the video, but it is so thick, y'all. I'm sure when I get done with this is going to be such, I'm going to feel so accomplished. But right now, it's like 7 o'clock. I haven't even got my first one up to boil, and I'm going to be honest, I'm tired. We are a waste not, want not type of family around here. We can be. We try our best anyhow. So this is the broth that I had the other day that was not enough to can. I'm actually going to take what's left of this bone broth. I'm sure it ain't going to hurt nothing. And we're just going to toss it into that same container. We're going to fill of our jars, make sure there's no sharp edges. We're looking for sharp edges. We're looking for chips or nicks. These jars all feel actually pretty good. This probably don't matter, but I am going to put the ball on the ball and the other ones on the other ones. Again, it does not matter, I'm sure, but I just want to. You want to make sure your lid is centered, and then you finger tighten it with until you reach a little bit of resistance, and then I guess you give it another little. You put it on there a little snugger. Can't see it, but if I put my hand over it, I can feel the steam coming out. I can also hear it. And according to the canner, that is the start. So let's start a 10-minute timer. Ooh, don't you hate when you figure something out at the last minute? Y'all, I forgot to put salt in that bone broth. I had every intention of doing that. I'm trying to think what I want to do. I guess I'll not salt it. Our 10-minute, we have been venting for 10 minutes. I have 10 pounds of pressure. There we go. Once there is pressure present in the pressure canner, this lid should pop up.
About this point, I knew something was not right, that it should have already had the indicator that there was pressure in the canner, because it had boiled for a while, and at this point I'd started getting a little bit worried about dry canning, and that's when you lose too much water and then you dry can. So at this point I started getting out the canner directions and instructions and just consulting it again and starting to investigate with the canner exactly why it was not creating pressure.
Ha ha ha! Fix the problem without calling my mom. My lid was not closed fully. When your lid is closed, this will pop up. So now we should start obtaining some pressure. Okay.
I did want to clarify here, that will pop up if there's pressure present in the canner, and pretty much once you get up to boil, once you put that weight on there, I'm speaking from experience at this point, it should pop up within just a few minutes. So if it hasn't, you need to start investigating what is going on.
All right, guys, this is the gentle rocking motion it looks like on the Presto Canner website. So now I've started my timer for 75 minutes. Now we wait. All right, my hour and 15-minute timer just went off. So I'm going to turn the stove off. And I'm actually going to remove it from the heat entirely. I have to wait until this pops down, from what I understand, and then I could take the weight off.
Just to set clear expectations, it takes a long time for that to pop down.
2 minutes. Did you hear it? It even made a noise, so. And let's hope for good news.
You're still going around.
So far, looks good. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 more minutes. And then I can take my jars out. 10 minutes have passed with the lid open, so the jars hopefully have cooled enough that it won't be a shock to pull them out. Now, it said you can put your jars on a cloth or a wood board, so I'm just using one of my cutting boards. Alright, all of these are out. I'm going to leave these overnight, and I will check the seals in the morning. Hey guys, behind me I have what we completed over, sadly enough, this week. It did take quite a while, but I went ahead and canned the broth and the bone broth without you guys because it's the exact same process as canning the chicken. In the quart size, I processed these for 25 minutes. And in the pint size, I processed these for 20 minutes because that's what was recommended according to that ball book I showed you. So anyhow, we ended up with 8 quart size jars of broth, and we ended up with 5 pints of bone broth. This is very gelatinous. It's very interesting flavor. And then, lastly, we ended up with 8 jars of canned chicken. I'm going to take 1 jar of each one of these and take it to the lady at church that donated the chicken to begin with. I feel like it would be a nice gesture. But
All right, y'all, let's wrap this up. It has been fun, it has been hard, and there have been tears shed. But I feel like anything rewarding in life is always like that, you know, and this really was a rewarding experience. If I seemed like I had no idea what I was doing or I had no clue, guess what? I didn't. It was my very first time doing this and my very first time canning or doing chicken and broth and all that. It was my very first time. I'd done it with my mom, but my mom was very pregnant and my mom pretty much did the whole thing, and I just sat and watched and talked to her. So I wouldn't really qualify that as experience, but I had a lot of knowledge going into this. So do your research so that you know that you're going to have a safe product at the end. But that's the whole point of this channel. Is I named it Holy Homestead in the Making because holy, because God's first. And then homestead in the making is because we're not quite there yet. We have knowledge and skills and we have resources, but these skills, none of these knowledge has been tested. It is all new to me. So that is what we're doing here. That's the whole point of the channel. So if you guys want to see me can anything else, comment down below, because y'all have seen everything I've canned. I've done apple pie filling and lots of chicken because I got gifted like 12 bags. So comment down below anything else that you would like to see me can, because I'm down to figure it out.